The next speaker is Gabriela Arzate Bello. Gabriela, are you here?
Yes, you can hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, that was a problem of my PC.
No problem. You can start sharing your screen if you want. Let me tell you that Gabriela is from the Instituto Tecnológico de Monterrey in Ciudad de México, in Mexico. And she's going to present a wearable cloud-based system to enable Alzheimer disease analysis, diagnosis, and progression monitoring. Gabriela, the floor is yours.
Yes. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yep. You're okay.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Well, my name is Gabriela Arzate Bello, and I'm going to present this project named a wearable cloud-based system to enable Alzheimer's disease analysis, diagnosis, and progression monitoring. Oh, well, I didn't this alone. There's my partners, Carlos Rogel Hurtado, Jose Reyes Lopez, Luis Montesinos, and Edgar Lopez-Caudana, which the two last ones are my assessors. Okay, some of the contents of these presentations are firstly, the introduction. We are talking about something about the Alzheimer's disease, the main problematic that we found, and possible solutions for this problematic. In the development, we will see the general objective of the project, the proposed systems, and the methodology of each system. Then the results, and finally the conclusions and the next steps that we'll take it. Okay, something about the Alzheimer's disease. The Alzheimer's disease, in general terms, is the loss of memory, as everyone's know, but also it's the loss of cognitive abilities as talk, walk, and well, in such a long time, it will lose other abilities like just communicate with other people. And well, as we know, this interfere with everyday life. The symptoms of the Alzheimer begin to appear after the 60 years old in the 90% of the cases. And two of the main causes of this disease is the advanced age and the family history. Also, we know that it affects at least 1,000 people per year of the population over 60 years old in Mexico, and it has a prevalence of 77.1%. Okay, the main problematics that we found with the Alzheimer's disease in Mexico, there are in two stages. First, the diagnosis of Alzheimer, and then the treatment of Alzheimer. Firstly, of the diagnosis of Alzheimer in Mexico, patients can spend years ignoring these symptoms until they become very noticeable. And also, first-line doctors, generally non-specialists, are not trained to make this early diagnosis, so they do this diagnosis in a very long time. Also, the classic diagnoses are so expensive and invasive and take a lot of time, as I say. And the next one, during the treatment of the Alzheimer, the physical vulnerabilities such as infections and cardiovascular diseases increase a lot. Alzheimer patients sometimes are unable to communicate their symptoms. That's one of the problems of this disease in Mexico. Which are the possible solutions that we found? Firstly, we found that voice analysis has been studied in dementia and Parkinson's disease to identify potential vocal markers. Okay, we are talking about that we are working with voice. And Meilangi mentions in their studies that speech measures can be linked to the language profiles in Alzheimer patients, and these measuring are valuable to early diagnosis of Alzheimer. And next, to the other stage that we are talking about, that is the Alzheimer treatment, is that we found that portable system as the technology of wireless sensor network are very useful for having the monitoring of this disease. Also, with all other communication techniques which deliver biomedical signals over long distances. Okay, or the general objective of our project was implement a psychological and behavioral monitoring system to assist the frontline medical personnel in an early diagnosis and Alzheimer progression. How we will do this? Okay, firstly, we will use a software to extract biomarkers from the voice to indicate signs of Alzheimer. Then, we will implement a wearable device that measures the vital signs of Alzheimer patient to have a continuous monitoring. And we will collect all this patient information in the cloud to generate a dashboard in the web so it will be accessed for medicals. Okay, something about the two proposed systems. Firstly, as I said, we're talking about the Alzheimer diagnosis and then Alzheimer treatment. For the Alzheimer diagnosis, the function of our system, it will be that the patient goes to the medical consult. The medic just needs to record an audio of the patient with a microphone computer or an external microphone. And the software that we implemented will do all this signal processing and filter extraction of the voice to make a prediction of Alzheimer diagnosis. Then for the other system, we're having that the patients wears a wearable, which will measure the heartbeat and the temperature, which are the most common physical measures of the patients, and it will send it to the cloud. Then once in the cloud, it will share it to the medics in a web page to having access in anywhere in the world. Okay, more detailed about how we will do this Alzheimer diagnosis software. As I mentioned, the first stage is the signal voice capture, and then the software analysis. This software analysis, I will explain later how we'll do this, how we did this, and then the visualization of the prediction if we are in a early stage of Alzheimer or we are not. It's a binary decision. What are we measuring? In other studies, we found that the count of syllables, long pauses, speech rate, articulation rate, phonation time, and fundamental frequency of the voice are important and are the most common that it gets affected because of Alzheimer. How we are measuring this? Well, firstly, we implement a syllable counting algorithm in Python. All this software is developed in Python. And we use the Pratt software tool to extract all this information from the voice. This Pratt tool is a specialized software of signal processing. And also we use a lot of audio libraries of Python to process all these audio records. In the right image, we can see a bunch of parameters that we are obtaining of one patient. It took, I think that for 4 seconds. So that's where we're obtaining of the algorithm. Okay, more graphically, how we did this syllable counting algorithm that I mentioned. Well, in the red square, we are seeing the audio signal of the voice. Then in the blue square, we are seeing the spectrum of the voice. In yellow is the intensity, and in blue, the fundamental frequency, also called the pitch of the voice. And once is the algorithm implemented, we are having the syllable counting in the orange square, where we can see that in each peak of the intensity spectrum, we are counting a syllable. And in the pink square, we are seeing that we have all the long pauses counting. We can see that between 10 and in the 11th syllable and the 12 and 13 and 14 and 15, we are seeing three significant spaces. So we're taking account as a long pauses. Okay, now we will talk about how we do this Alzheimer progression monitoring. As I mentioned, it is the use of a wearable that it will measure temperature and also heartbeat. And then it will communicate with the cloud. In this case, we use a AWS server and storage. And we will see next the visualization of these results in a web page. Okay, a little bit of how is the hardware composed in our wearable is we are using an SP32, and this will be for read the data from the sensors and communicate with the cloud. Then we are using the temperature sensor, which is the first in the left. And we are using the MLX 9614. It will measure temperature at short distances and use an Arduino library. And in the other side, we have a pulse sensor that will measure the heartbeat, BPM, and it uses a playground library also in Arduino, and use a circuit solution for as a requirement of the use of this sensor. And well, as energy, we are using a LiPo battery. And this is because we have in a prototype in a large scale. We're using these components in their original scale, not in an SMD format. Okay, the next step of the wearable is all the cloud computed communication. The cloud computer communication is composed for these platforms. AWS IoT Core for receiving all this data from the ESP32, and then AWS IoT Analytics to receive all this data and having in tables. Then Amazon S3 and Amazon QuickSight will help us to having in a graphical way to then display it into a dashboard in a web page. Okay, now a little bit about our results. At the time we write this paper, we keep advancing since then. So what we have right now is all this Alzheimer diagnosis software implemented that extract all this information from the voice, but how we validate that our software function. So we use two things, a machine learning model, in this case, naive Bayes. This is because we have a limited bunch of data, and in an international database of Alzheimer patients, which recollects a lot of Alzheimer patients' recordings voice. So we have access to this database, and we extract some of this to train this machine learning model. What we have of the training, what we obtained of the training of this model was 67% of effectivity. Well, in the left image, we can see that it's a MATLAB tool. It's a MATLAB tool functioning to training this with this data that we have. We have approximately 200 data to train. And well, this is, and in the next image, we are seeing the same algorithm to prove the training, but in Python, implemented in Python. And well, also we have an interface user. And well, As you can see, we have a start page. It's a very simple interface because Python is not designed for doing user interfaces, but it works. It's functional. From the first, we have a start page, and then a couple of fields that the medic needs to fill, like the patient's gender, the patient's age, the patient's name, etc. And also, it can choose to work with an audio input in existence or with a new audio input from a new recording of the patient. And once it's ready, enter the data, and we have all these results in the last image. We are seeing that we are dividing this in Alzheimer or not Alzheimer, in this case, control or Alzheimer. In this case, this patient, it's saying that the control is 1 and the prediction is 0. So the patient is with Alzheimer in this case. What we use to prove or model, it was like we trained the model with 200 data, and we extract other data out of the training data we use it as input in the software. And from this, we obtained that we have 67% of effectivity. Now some results about the wearable. This is the timeline of the creation of the wearable. As we can see, we take the measures of each component, and we design some few boxes to put it into a globe. And this is, as I mentioned, a prototype. We're planning to do in a more compact way as a smartwatch. And this is more of the timeline. We're having in this side the lipo energy alimentation, and also a few more pics of the globe completed. And in the last image, we have the model in SolidWorks. And as you can see, we are having the pulse sensors in the finger and the other sensors in the boxes. From this, we are obtaining 2% of error compared with other commercial devices, which are other oximeters and also other thermometers and other smartwatches. And from this, we obtained 2,000 of error. And we are here seeing the display of the dashboard in QuickSight in real time. We are seeing the temperature monitoring and the pulse monitoring.
2 minutes, Gabriela.
Okay. I'm having the conclusions right now. Okay, as conclusions, we have the Alzheimer diagnosis software will help first-line doctors to have a preliminary diagnosis in Alzheimer. With this, we will speed up the treatments to delay the disease and provide a better quality of life for a longer time to the patients. Also, we created a non-invasive system for a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, and this is as an alternative to currently used cognitive test that I mentioned. Is the cognitive test could be longer, and some other tests of brain scanners could be also very expensive. And also this system uses technological innovation methodologies such as voice analysis and machine learning models to make a prediction of the disease. And finally, the monitoring system helps to complete the disease treatment stream once it's already been diagnosed. We are covering 2 sides of the disease, firstly the diagnosis and then the monitoring of the progression. Which is the next step in our project? First, in the diagnosis software, make a more sophisticated user interface in Python. Also, design visual scales to present results. Continue a machine learning training and data validation to have more percentage of effectivity. And well, as I mentioned, this database was in English, so everything works in English. So our objective is doing this in different languages. So we have to make a protocol of ethics to create more databases in different languages. Then for the wearable, where we planning to continue validating measurements with commercial products, inquire about permits and specification for medical products to make these medical products only for older people, and also review international standards to generate a test protocol with local people here in Mexico. And also make a more compact model for the hardware. As I mentioned, we're planning to do it in a smartwatch way, not in this globe way. And that's it. And thank you. And if there is some questions, and there is my contact, and well, I can hear you now.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. A beautiful applause for you too. Is there any question from the audience, speakers in the session? I have many questions actually. I have a lot of questions about the power consumption, but I think the wireless communication, I think you are not in that step yet. I have a question that I didn't get from your presentation and from your article. When the content of the audio that you record is predefined, or is just wide audio? The people do you know the content of the audio?
Well, firstly, I can speak in Spanish right now.
Yep, you can speak Spanish.
Okay.
No problem.
Bueno, en nuestra base de datos estaban los audios de las personas con Alzheimer, eran haciendo un test que simplemente era describiendo una imagen. Entonces, nuestras pruebas, todo nuestro proceso se basó describiendo una imagen, que es un test cognitivo muy común para diagnosticar Alzheimer, que es una imagen, bueno, olvidé ponerla en la presentación, es una imagen muy simple de descripción de acciones. Pero se supone esto funciona con cualquier tipo de habla espontánea. Si la persona empieza a hablar con el micrófono, ya se pueden detectar se pueden extraer toda la información necesaria. No hay ningún problema. Simplemente lo estandarizamos a usar esta prueba cognitiva para que el paciente tuviera algo de qué hablar.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other question? No. Thank you again, Gabriela.